Hello, so I'm here giving the course reflections and the finale. Helpful things that I've learned. I think it was really important and eye-opening for us to start the course off with asking what gender pronouns we identify with. I think historically, I've never really, I've worked in settings where there have been people who are not heteronormative, and I work with them and I accept them, and I kind of understand what their struggles were. However, I will say that I have always just assumed that people are what they present as. So if it looks like a guy or it looks like a woman, then I have never really just asked the question, what do you identify with? This semester I also had an opportunity to do a training on LGBTQIA and transgender and all of those great, wonderful acronyms. And I really learned that there's a really unjust system that takes place within this community, and there are not really a lot of clinicians that are competent enough and really aware of the issues that this community is facing, especially for us, the transgender population. And I have seen through my work this semester that there's really a lack of understanding as far as the needs and just what they're experiencing. So I thought that that was really important. Another concept that I, really had to sit back and to think about is the self-care portion of this. This semester has been pretty tough for me in several different areas, and I'll discuss some of that later. But self-care, I've realized that I haven't put a lot of time or emphasis into this, and it really showed in my work and in my personal life. And really, what I've seen is that if I am not good and I am not taking care of my own self, then I am not good to anybody else. And that includes the clients that are trusting me with the healthcare needs. So I'm glad that we spent a lot of time really focusing on self care. I thought also that the Greenwald text, when it came to trauma screening in children, was really helpful. Um, I remember doing the assignment with my coworker, and we kind of sat back and we went through the scripts, and it just I feel like I learned a different way of approaching trauma questions and getting the information in a pretty kid friendly way. So I appreciate the Greenwald text for being able to give me a different perspective, not just the plain dry trauma screening that many of the agencies have given us to use. When it came to doing our client plans and the case formulation, using plain language was really important. And I think in the beginning of that, I kind of struggled because I'm not really used to doing clinical or doing presentations outside of a clinical setting. Really, most of our parents that I get in the demographics that I work with, they're not really interested. They really just hand us their kids and they're like, fix it. So it was good to be able to say, hey, if I have families that are, really involved and they need to be able to understand what their kids are going through, then I probably have to use different language that they can understand and not make them feel like there is this education hierarchical like difference, and that they cannot find me relatable because they don't even know what I'm saying. So I think that that was really helpful. Also, I learned that, I have been like, oh my goodness, like I'm gonna have this degree, I'm gonna have, be able to work in these fields, but I don't feel like I have the competency level to really implement many other treatments. So while we were doing the presentations and the assignments, I realized that there are different certifications and additional trainings, continue education courses that we can take so that we can feel more competent in the treatment modalities that we're using. So that was really important to learn also. what I liked and what I didn't like. So I'm going to start with the didn't likes. There weren't very many things, but and this is my own trying to be frugal and not spend a lot of money on textbooks, but I feel like the Greenwald text that I purchased was an online book and it just wasn't user friendly and it slowed down the process in a lot of my readings and navigating through the books. Also, I find that some weeks there was more readings than I could keep up with, partially just because I have been super overly burdened. And I'm sure that I could have really sat back and reflected and learned more, but time was limited. And so I really kind of did the best that I could to keep up with readings and also the assignments. The things that I did like the weekly check ins. It helped me to feel like there was a platform to voice how I was feeling or, what current struggles or just where I was with the text and what areas of improvement that I needed to work on. I think the weekly videos was something, I'm almost at the end of this program. And since I've been in the program, I haven't had any instructors, that were doing this, making, some people learn better through, auditory hearing and things like that. So to sit there and feel like I have an instructor that's walking me through what the expectations are were really helpful. It kind of reminded me of an in-person class. I like that we had smaller groups for the weekly discussions. It kind of helped me to not feel overwhelmed, feeling like I have to read through all of these things to just get an understanding about, the text or whatever it was. So I kind of appreciated that. Treatment planning, I did like that. And then late days. I actually have a couple instructors, professors from previous schools on my Facebook, and I have always been in a setting where late days were just unacceptable, non negotiable. This is the date. And I think that, in undergrad, that was fine, I guess, because I didn't have the same expectations and I didn't have the same demands on me. But now that I'm in a different place in my life, it's kind of unrealistic to think that nothing's ever going to come up. So I did utilize that on one of the assignments. I don't think, unlike what many instructors may feel, I don't feel like I abused that. And I think that most adults that are, in this program are not going to abuse that. And I also think that it helps, the trauma informed lens. Like, we just kind of, it needs to be understood that there's so much going on. And the last thing that I want to do is to feel like, I'm a failure or that I cannot accomplish certain things just because I haven't met this deadline. So I think that that was really, really, really beneficial and just feeling like I had that opportunity. What I survived, and I put this picture: stress everywhere, everything. Like I said earlier, this was a really, really difficult semester. I had a restructure in my job. My position was on the line. I got put in a different department. I then had to work in a homeless shelter, an overnight shelter, which is completely different than the transitional program that I had been working in. I had issues with childcare. I had issues with anxiety, depression. I had to go to the doctor. I had to take some time off of work. Overall, I just feel like this was really, really tough, and I'm just glad that it's over. And, I forgive myself for anything that I did not do perfectly, any, errors that I may have made along the way. And I'm just really glad that it's over. I have one more class, about 270 hours to go, and then it's a wrap. So I appreciate everything that you've taught me this semester, and I hope you have a good break.